Welcome to the future of Israel and the Jewish people. As you know, if you watched our show before, we don't preach and we try not to teach. We try to encourage you to research the Hebrew scriptures. If you're a Gentile, then I suggest you look at the Old Testament. Old meaning that it preceded the New Testament, the Greek scripture. So, what are we studying tonight? Well, we announced that we were going to study Jacob. Now, there's 50 chapters in the book of Genesis from creation to the end of Joseph's life. And in 25 of those chapters, Jacob is involved. What is so important about Jacob? Well, if you realize his grandfather, Abraham, was the father of faith. And he's sort of a father figure throughout history with both Jews and Gentiles and even Muslims. Isaac is respected by Christians and Jews as being the son of the father. And Jacob is the grandson, but we're going to find out later on his name is going to be changed. Just like Abram was changed to Abraham, is going to be from Jacob to Israel. Let's open our Bibles to chapter 25 of Genesis. It's the first book of the Bible. It is at least 4,000 years. Chapter 19 is going to talk about Jacob and Esau. Now, when Isaac's wife had her sons, they were twins, but one preceded the other. And she was told before they were born that the younger would be served by the older. So Esau is the older by minutes, I guess, and Jacob is the younger. So we're going to read from 19, and we'll see how far we get today. We can't cover it all in one show. It says, "This is the account of the family line of Abraham, son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah." Okay, and then down on 21 it says, "Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. And the Lord answered his prayers, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant." Now, later on we're going to find out it was a 20-year period between his married to her at age 40 and his son being born at age 60. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "What is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. If you remember when we talked about Rebekah, that she was a very good serving type of woman, and obviously she believed in God. He didn't marry a pagan girl from the Canaanites. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two people from within you will be separated. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. When the time comes for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first came out was red, and his whole body was like hairy garment. So they named him Esau, which I believe has something to do with red. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them." Now, it's amazing that in the culture that the first son got a double portion. and he was supposed to be responsible for his elders as they grew old. But constantly we're seeing God choosing the younger one. He does it here. He did it with Isaac. He does it with David. So God has his own way of operating. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skilled hunter, a man of the open field, while Jacob was content with staying at home among the tents. Now that didn't mean he just hung around the house. He might have been taking care of the sheep or the goats or whatever livestock they had, or maybe did gardening. But there's a difference between somebody that likes to live off the land and somebody who's domesticated. Okay? Here's an issue that hopefully we haven't experienced or that we don't do ourselves. It says, Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So favoritism is not a good thing. I know it's hard to fight. I know I have my first grandchild, and she was a girl, and beautiful princess, intelligent. Today she's a cardiac nurse, and with 2 degrees. It's hard not to like people who are doing the right thing, who are pleasant, who are kind-hearted. But this creates a problem later on. He said to Jacob, now this is Esau when he's fairly grown up. At least he might have been a young adult, maybe a teenager. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open field, famished. Okay? He said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished. That is what he was called, Esau. Jacob replied, first, sell me your birthright. Look, I am about to die, Esau says. What good is a birthright? But Jacob said, first, swear an oath to him. Let me read that over. Jacob said, swear to me first. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Now, what determines the value of anything? Houses, cars, anything. It's only what somebody else is willing to pay for it. It has nothing to do with how much it costs to make, how much it costs. If nobody will buy it, it's worth nothing. Okay? So, Esau put the price of his birthright on a bowl of Lenten soup. And that's why in another part of Scripture it says, God loved Jacob, he hated Esau. What does he mean? Well, he hated the fact that he didn't appreciate his birthright. And later on he's going to regret this. Okay? So Jacob gave Esau bread and some Lenten soup. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Now, we know that Jacob is the real founder, we'll say, with God's help, of the nation Israel. Abraham established a family by having Isaac. Isaac had 2 twins, and one of them is going to establish the nation. God does things in threes a lot. And for those of you that believe in the Trinity, you understand that. But we have Father Abraham, we have his son Isaac, now we have his grandson Jacob. I think we need to go to the next chapter and we're going to skip over some stuff that has nothing to do with where we're trying to go with today. And the next chapter, which is 26, is a disagreement between a king and Isaac over something that Isaac does that the king is upset with. And so he leaves and goes away. And he begins to be prosperous in spite of the fact that he's no longer living among a foreign nation. Okay? Now, Isaac becomes old and very successful. The enemies of Israel basically keep harassing him by filling in his wells, but no matter where he goes, he finds water. And see, that's a sign of God's favor. You've got to notice that in people when they're being favored by God. You got to question, what are they doing different than I am? Okay? Maybe they're acting more generosity. Maybe they operate more fairly. Maybe they're more honest. Maybe they can walk away from dangerous situations and risky businesses. You know, for instance, we'll give gambling. One guy will invest money in the stock market, another guy will go to the casino. Guess who will be richer in the end? Okay? Well, now we're going to talk about how that birthright, many years later, comes into play. So we have Jacob taking Esau's blessing. When Esau was 40 years old, he married some Canaanite women, and it was a source of greed for his mother and father, because the line of the Jewish people, which these people are going to become, were meant to be kept pure. Okay? It was meant to be kept pure because the line of Judah eventually was going to bring the Messiah forth. And they weren't to mix it with what we call the sons of men versus the sons of God. Okay? So, when Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called Esau, his oldest son, and said to him, "My son, here I am," he answered. Sounds like obedience. Okay? Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the days of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quill and your bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Now, food is very important not only to sustain life, but it's a very enjoyable thing. You know that. Go to weddings, you go to cocktail parties, you go to all kinds of things. And but within our faith, meals play a very important part. Okay? We know about the Passover. We know about what we do at the gathering. We know what first fruits is about. Fruits is very important. Okay? And these two men had great fellowship over the game that his son captured and eventually served to his father. Now, Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Isaac. Now, mind you, it says his son. They're their son, but it's referred to as his son. Okay, you see the identification here? Of course, her son, in her mind, is Jacob. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessings in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you to do. Go out to the flock and bring me in 2 choice young goats, so I may prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, and that he may give you the blessing before he dies. Now, we look at this, and you see how deception is coming in. She was told that Jacob was going to be the favor of God. Jacob bought the birthright from his brother for a bowl of Lenten soup or stew. So it's going to pass to him one way or the other. But they're not ready to do it God's way. They're ready to do it their own way. Deception and manipulation is never right, and it brings in tremendous consequences. The Bible says manipulation is really witchcraft. Okay? Think about that. That's evil. That's an evil spirit trying to get somebody else deceived into doing what you want them to do. You know? So, why do they pick goats instead of lambs? Well, probably their diet is different, so you are what you eat. And it tastes probably more wild than lamb that's more domesticated. It's funny because lambs like to eat the grass close to the ground, not goats. Goats like to stand on their hind quarters and eat the leaves off the tree. You understand why they taste differently? Different diet. Jacob says to Rebekah, his mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, while I'm a smooth skin. What if my father touches me, and I will appear to be tricking him, and will bring down a curse on me rather than a blessing?" Now, if you notice this, he's saying, I might get in trouble doing this. He's not saying like his grandson is going to, or I should say, like his son is going to say, Joseph. Joseph says, God forbid I should do this. It's wrong. He's just saying I might get caught at doing this. How many times have we done that? Could be as simple as just speeding, you know. Well, his mother says to him, my son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me. You know, some people say, well, whenever you do whatever your mother tells you, it's probably a good thing. Not every mother gives you the best advice. And even good mothers sometimes can give you bad advice. You're going to be held responsible for what you do, not who told you. A lot of people have excuses. Well, you have to stand on your own. And obviously he was a man by this time. So he went out and got them and brought them to his mother. And she prepared some tasty food, just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her oldest son, while she was in the house, and put them on the young son, Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat's hair. Then she handed to her son, Jacob, the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went in to his father and said, my father. Yes, my son, he answered. Who is it? Interesting. The father can't see well, but he can hear well. Well, listen to this. Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. Lie number 1. I have done as you told me. Lie number 2. Please sit up and eat of my game. Line number 3. So that you may give me your blessing. Now Isaac, is a man of God. Along with that should come discernment and wisdom and knowledge. Isaac asks him, son, how did you find it so quickly, my son? Now listen to this phrase. The Lord your God gave me success, he replied. Lie number 4. But he also here doesn't say God bless me. He says your God. So it's an indication that their belief system isn't identical. Then Isaac said to Jacob, come near so I may touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not. So he's going to deceive him by playing the role. Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hand are the hand of Esau. So he goes on to say, he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. Well, let me tell you, this is a big deception. You're going to find out in life that God uses people sometimes in spite of their faults. Are you really my son Esau? He asked. I am, he replied. Okay, line number 5. Then he said, my son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing. Jacob brought it to him, and he ate it. And he brought some wine, and he drank it. Okay? Proverbs tells you be careful who you eat with. Then his father Esau said to him, his father Isaac said to him, come near me, my son, and kiss me. He's still not convinced. So he went to him and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heavenly dew and earthly riches, an abundancy of grain and new wine. May the nations serve you, and the people bow down to you. Be Lord over your brother, and may the sons of your mothers bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed. What amazing blessing. Here we are, about 4,000 years later, and we're facing this today. The nations haven't bowed down yet to the Israelites. In fact, they're very hostile towards the Israelites. There's more anti-Semitism now probably than ever. Thank God it's not full-blown as it could be. But he illustrates the blessing, and later on you find out that Esau teams up with Ishmael, and that's where, when they intermarry, all your Arab nations come from. And so the Arabs are eventually going to serve under the Jews. They've been resisting it for thousands of years, but it's their destiny, and God's going to bring it about. So what happens next is, as soon as he leaves the room and goes away, who shows up but Esau? And what happens then, the same thing happens all over again. His father Isaac asks him, "Who are you?" "I'm your son," he answered, "your firstborn, Esau." Well, Isaac is terribly, his voice violently, and says, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me, me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came, deceiving and taking your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he the righteous named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He has taken my birthright, and now he has taken my blessings." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved anything blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you, and have made all of his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine." Well, that's the story. What can I tell you? If you need to contact us, email us. If you want to see previous shows, watch our website. It's on the screen, and we're having a good time explaining to you how God formed the nation of Israel. Esau was bitter and angry. What can I tell you? It is a sad story, but it's true. We need to respect the things of God. Otherwise, we're going to pay the consequences. So come back next week and hear the rest of this story to do with Jacob mainly. And have a good day. Read your scriptures. Stay on the Bible once and for all. Shalom.